As a biologist, part of my job is to come out to these areas and survey them for what animals are living in that area. And waterways, wetlands, all of these areas that have this type of habitat provides incredible resources for all of the wildlife that we have out here. These areas provide travel corridors, they provide food, they provide cover, they provide the water that every animal, every bit of living organisms need. So these areas are incredibly important for all of the wildlife in the area. So this water that's flowing right by us right here flows all the way down from Rattlesnake Canyon to Mission Canyon, through our city, and then out to the ocean. So everything we do here affects all of us and all of them. Every piece of litter that we throw out in these rivers gets in there, and that it affects everything from this point all the way down out into the ocean. So animals actually ingest some of that. They actually eat some of the plastics, and those plastics build up in their systems. And then as they get eaten by other animals, it travels all the way up that food chain. Each of these different items of trash that we get dispersed throughout our whole region flows down through our storm drains out into creeks like this. Just imagine that the animals living in here are already incredibly vulnerable to all sorts of different stresses. They've got the stress that there's habitat loss. They've got the stress that the water quality isn't as good as it could be. Pesticides are coming in, herbicides are coming in. Everything that we use eventually gets washed down into these drainages right here. The most vulnerable of these species need clean water so that they can survive. They're actually breathing the air out of this water, and every single breath that they take through their gills comes through, and if it's got any kind of toxin in it, it's going to be affecting them, these minute organisms living in there. So if we put oil in there, it actually covers up their gills and they're not able to breathe. If we put toxins and plastics in there, they're not going to be able to withstand the toxin in there, and they're not going to be able to survive. If they don't survive, those small organisms, all the animals that are eating those organisms aren't going to be able to survive. So we have in these areas that look beautiful, but the water quality or the habitat around them has been affected, so we've lost species out of here. So long-term effects of trash in an area, that trash eventually breaks down. The cigarette butt that has got, most people don't even consider it a trash item. They throw it out without thinking of it. It's made up of plastic, it's got nicotine, it's got tobacco in it. All of those things are really toxins to some of the organisms living in these creeks. And if you can see each one of these little ponds that we've got here, each one of these little pools having its own unique assortment of organisms living in there, and you throw one little minute piece of toxin in there, that can affect all of the organisms living in that one particular area. I am a big proponent of education. You got to get the kids motivated and engaged in this issue. You've got to get them convinced, and then they go home and they convince their parents.
The reason I joined Ocean Guardians is because I help my mom sometimes clean up trash around like the creeks and side of the roads and stuff. And I wanted to do that more and also help the creeks and stuff. So I joined Ocean Guardians. And what we do is we kind of like help the creeks and stuff by like picking up the trash. And there's like this bioswale at my school. We've been like planting plants in it.
Everyone has their own part to play in this, and each individual does really have a pretty big effect. Ecos is the study of house. And whose house is it? Sometimes we look at this place and we say, oh, it's the animal's house, and we can very easily see that it's their house. But it's not. It's our house too, and we have to take care of our house. We have to take care of all of these organisms that are living here and all of this life that we just appreciate so much. It's so easy for us to not see that we're part of it. We're absolutely part of it, and all of our actions that we do have an effect out here in these beautiful spaces, but all the way down the creek bed too.